Welcome to the April meeting, and I hope a lot of you saw the eclipse. We had a pretty good turnout out at the observatory. We had about 300 cars or so, and we estimated 900 to 1,000 people out there. And when we saw the totality, even if it was for 15 or 20 seconds, there was a loud clapping and shenanigans going on everything. So I was too busy in the chair looking back, had the glasses on, and then taking them off. Oh, this is cool. You know, that's my first totality. So hopefully everybody got this, and show and tell night. So let's see, any other reports or anything before we go on into the rest of the meeting? Any reports or anything anybody wants to talk about?
Sure. Next month's meeting.
Next month's meeting.
Next month meeting is going to be at the observatory. Isn't that right, Mike?
Yes, so
and we'll be working with people that receive something like Christmas telescopes to try to help people get their telescopes up and running.
Mm-hmm.
And the presentation next month is going to be a brilliant presentation called The Introduction to Visual Astronomy. And that'll be presented by yours truly.
Hey, that's why it's brilliant.
It's going to be brilliant. I'm trying to raise that expectations bar.
I have a little extra brilliance sprinkles
exactly.
on top of
That's
it.
what they'll be. And so even if it's cloudy, I think we'll be able to do some things that will help people get their telescopes up and running. One of the primary things you have to do is get alignment between your finder scopes and all that. We can do that cloudy or not. So we do have a weather risk, but hopefully it'll all turn out.
Joe, is it going to be? We should keep 7:30 start time.
Yeah, I think that's fine. It'll be light, but then again, we'll have the introductory presentation. It'll be mercifully short, brilliant, but mercifully short, and then we'll run out into the field.
All right, that's great. Any
new? Hey, Julie.
Yes. Hello.
Is Neil there or I guess Russell's here? I talked to a friend of mine that's involved with Cub Scouts, and they're going to have about 15 Cub Scouts out there at Jefferson Township Park Saturday night. And I told them as long as we're open, they're free to come in and view. But I just wanted that as a warning, if it's clear, that we could have more people than usual out there Saturday night.
Okay, we got it. Thank you.
I will be out there, and I'll help out any way I can. Oh, there's Neil.
There he is. All right. And by the way, I forgot, I'm Julie, the club president, and or the buffoon sometimes. I don't like boring meetings anyway. So, is there anybody new here tonight? I'd like to introduce you. Look new. Why don't you tell a little bit about yourself, your name, and what you like, or why you want to hang out with us?
So my name is Mark Falstich. Thank you for welcoming me. And I spent 20 years in the airport doing space operations. So I have got to enjoy a lot of different activities involved with space. I have a degree in space operations from the Air Force Academy. Wow. And I got a master's degree in space systems. So I love outer space. Good. And, so I have a lot of stories someday to share. So, but yeah, thank you for welcoming me.
Great. Yeah. Do you have a telescope or
I don't have a telescope right now. As I've been moving around, for the last 20 plus years, I just never wanted to invest.
We just have to have a whole bunch of them out at the observatory.
Now, the only difficulty is I live over in Plymouth, so it's a little bit of a hike to come over here, but yeah. Yeah.
There you go.
If I could get my wife to go camping with me, then maybe.
Okay. Well, we look forward to having you with us, and whenever you can. And
all right.
And
I may have to join on Zoom sometimes if I'm able to make the trek over here.
Yeah.
So,
right. Yeah. Yes, sir.
My name is Mike Gale. I'm a retired computer programmer. And always been around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're astronomy club, and just get something. So and I 70 years old almost. Taught my daughter.
Hi. Is she interested in astronomy at all, or she? What is your name?
I'm Sarah.
Sarah?
Yeah, I've had an interest. My dad has helped me get interested in space, and I've always been interested in astronomy and just science fiction and
Yeah. There's a lot of good people. There's,
yeah.
there's a lot of good people in the club and that do different things, and you can, you know, people come and help offer if you want. And we have a lot of people that, you know, does with a telescope, some do astrophotography and other things. So we've got a lot of things going on. So, or
Thank you for the warm welcome.
yeah, yeah. And if we don't give you a warm welcome, come see me and we'll get something going for you. I'm easy to find. All right. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
My name's Brock, and I've just been interested in astronomy since I was a little kid. Little. So I'm happy to be here. Finally get to start with it.
All right. How'd you like that? The were you weren't at the Eclipse, but you were at the observatory, or
I went to the Eclipse.
you did? Did you like that?
Yeah, that's
Wasn't it cool? Well, you weren't part of the ones like me. Oh, yeah. That was my first total. So I've seen a partial, but not the total one. So it was great. All right. Any other reports or any other business before we, I guess we can move on to showing. Yeah, go ahead, Neil.
I would want to encourage anybody that wants to learn how to use one of the telescopes out at the observatory to email me. My email's on the website and also in the newsletter. As we go into June, we will keep that offer open, but we're not going to assign a date because so far it ends up being a dead night. So when people are interested, please contact me. That also goes for those who would want to be greeters. One of the comments from Laura's program from last month is you become the expert. And in that, you may not feel you know a lot compared to other members, but you know more than the general public. And as a greeter, you can kind of help them get comfortable, feel comfortable stepping up to a scope, being able to look at the sky and basically increase the welcoming feel. Right now, we're a little bit sterile. People come in and they just stare at us and we stare at them, and it's not very welcoming. So, thank you.
Is there anybody out there in Zoom land that want to say anything? I always forget about you guys.
Okay. Yeah, I got to see the eclipse down at Carmel. It was amazing. 3.5 minutes.
Wow. Yeah, we had about 15 or 20 seconds here, but it was good. It was better than nothing, that's for sure.
Yeah,
So,
I had seen it. I think it was 1994. There's an annular eclipse that we could see here in Goshen. That's the only other eclipse that I'd really seen. The totality is a very different experience.
yes, it is. So a little bit about yourself.
I was a mathematician. Well, basically, I was a math major in college. Computer programming, data architecture, data analysis is what I did for a career. And I've kind of a polymath. I'm interested in a lot of things.
Oh. Do you have a telescope or wanting to do stuff, or?
At this point, it's something that's been on my list. I have a good binoculars. I don't have a telescope.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Well, who's going to start off? You want to start off, or anybody wants to start off with show and tell? Lead the band.
Force me.
All right. I'll get rid of this. Thank you.
Right. Make this quick. Okay. Renee said that he was down in Carmel, right? And that's where I was as well. So now we have to figure out how to. So where I was in Carmel, I was with my brother-in-law, and Corsair, yeah, 7 years ago in 2017 when the first eclipse came through. We were down in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and when we found out that the eclipse was going to go through his backyard, it became obvious, very clear where we were going to be for this one. So yes, Texas was supposed to be the best place to be because it never rains in Texas, except for the eclipse. And so we were down in Carmel, and we had about that 3.5 minutes of totality, and it was very nice. So I have some pictures to share. That was the show and tell part, right? Yep. So if I can find my show and tell, we'll get that kicked off right away. Should be that. It's this, and here we go. Yes. So, okay, this is my brother-in-law's backyard.
You need to share that.
And I need to share this. Okay, so
You don't share.
I don't see the share button for some reason.
Here,
Let me
Let's go back
do this.
to-
That's share screen. There we go. And thank you, Jim. I completely missed that. And
You can maximize it.
I could if I can find it. There we go. All right. Oops, we already jumped one. I was going to introduce the equipment. This is pre-eclipse, and my brother-in-law happens to be a telescope collector, so he has a very fine collection of telescopes, as you can see. We had a 7-inch refractor with a white light filter on it. That's the one on the left. He has a 4-inch telescope that we had a Herschel wedge on. We have a 100 millimeter hydrogen alpha telescope. In the back, we have an 80 millimeter hydrogen alpha telescope, a Lunt, and then a 92 millimeter refractor with a Herschel wedge on it. So we were really well equipped, and we had a clear view to the sky, except as you can see in the background, we had a bit of cirrus coverage. So not awful. We had about 12 people that were there, friends and relatives that were there. And you see most of them at this point. There were some people that were wandering in and out. Lots of people interested in looking up at the sky as it was progressing and approaching totality. So the middle part of this is going to be some images. Hopefully you like them. This was before, of course, and there was a comment earlier that there weren't that many sunspots during the eclipse. That's true. 2 groups is basically what we had. There were 2 other smaller scopes there. So this is just after first contact and progressing. This is a hydrogen alpha image of the sun, and you can see some prominences up around the, what is that, 10 and 2 kind of. A lot of filaments, so it was more interesting in hydrogen alpha than it was with the sunspots itself. You can see it progressing, approaching that sunspot. Half the sunspot's gone, progressing. This is another hydrogen alpha. It was retouched, so the color's not quite right, but you can still see filaments and prominences. Proceeding towards totality. Aha, totality. Now this wasn't mine. I took this off the internet because I was doing what I suggested that people should be doing during totality, which is not playing with cameras. You should be looking up. You should be amazed. You should be drinking in the emotional content. So I knew there would be this picture on the internet, and so I just took it. By the way, it really was interesting to see this bright prominence at the bottom. You could see that, it was very clear there was a pinpoint of light, at least in Carmel. Yeah, that's right. And so there were photographic evidence it was a prominence. So first prominence seen at an eclipse. So these are some of the activities we were doing during the moments right before totality and then during totality. You can see lights coming on in the houses, these automatic house lights that people had. Everybody's taking pictures, milling around, looking. The light was kind of weird at this point, getting darker. This one shows Venus. We had the total eclipse and Venus. Oh, here it is. Here's another one with Jupiter. They were too far apart for a single frame. And by the way, all the pictures that you're seeing of the sun, they were taken with my phone. I didn't bring any special equipment. So this is at totality. You can see all the cirrus clouds. We're coming out of totality. Everybody's still amazed. And here we are out of totality, and the prominences in this photo from the 100-inch shows the prominences very clearly. I kind of like this one up with a little swish on it. These are just light artifacts, reflections, because this was also a phone picture. Coming out, there's that prominence, that A-frame type arch prominence. Yeah, this one actually looks like a charcoal, right? Chalk. But it was a picture. Yeah. So that was real. Coming out, coming out. You could see the cloud, a little bit of cloud that we were dealing with. So unfortunately, the contrast wasn't quite as high as in 17 for us. And apparently there was a lot of cirrus clouds everywhere. Coming out, coming out, coming out, coming out. A little bit more. Ta-da. Oh, you missed it. Did you miss the fourth contact right there? So we're done. People milling about, looking at pictures, congratulating each other. It was great. My wife in the middle. And that's about it. So the other thing that we learned, the other major thing that we learned in 17 was, if you can, don't get in traffic right after the eclipse is done. So since it was my brother-in-law's, we got the opportunity to stay overnight, and our drive home was real easy. Anyway, so that was my experience in Carmel, and some of the sights that we saw in the sky. Questions? Who's next?
Yeah, Joe.
Yes, Pete.
When I was down in Texas, there was this German guy, and he had a camera. He's taking video during totality, and you could clearly see that red spot of that prominence. I asked what was the major prominence, but it appeared red in his camera image. I'm going to try to get some images from him. I got his email.
Oh, that would be good. Naked eye, it was a very bright dot of light, and I suspected that it was a prominence, but I've never seen a prominence naked eye until that moment. So it was hard to tell exactly what it might be, but clearly it was that prominence. Yes, Mike.
I was down by Geisper's on Indianapolis. We had about 3.5 minutes of darkness, very similar to you, and incredible experience. It's the only time I've ever experienced that. But I was impressed that after totality had ended and the moon was just moving off of the sun, a small amount of light was very bright, and it was amazing how it changed things. So it didn't take much for it to light up, the sky after totality.
It really is quick. It really is quick. So you got to have that. I use an app, Solar Eclipse Timer, to tell us what all the phases were, and that came in so handy because it happens so quick. The light is so bright, so fast, and so incredibly bright that you really do need to have warnings like that.
Yeah,
so that turned out really well. This was our second eclipse, and it's still an awesome experience. Just amazing.
Did you want to say something? Oh.
I just have to figure out how to unshare. Stop sharing.
Okay, yeah, I went to Arkansas, specifically Dierks, Arkansas. So there was a campground there, so I could camp next to this Dierks Reservoir, and I'm right in the path of the Eclipse, and I don't have to go anywhere. So that's basically what I was in there. Of course, here's the camper, here's the pickup truck, and this is a visual scope. It's a 100 millimeter f7, and this is the 80 millimeter. I don't know, it's about f5, and they both got solar filters on until the Eclipse. So, and then I got my high-tech monitor shade here. So I'm very much a beginning astrophotographer. So there's probably lots of defects in the pictures, but I really enjoyed the experience. And I took a picture of this because I said, hey, it's on the screen. That's really cool. And I'm going to make sure if the computer fries or something, it'll be great. I'll still have a record, and that's another monitor picture. So I was really excited to see the corona and stuff on the monitor. I used Sharp Cap. This is a picture of the sun, and you can see I must have done this like at close to totality or something with a cell phone camera, but you can see like Jupiter here, which is pretty cool. But you can also see how hazy it is. So then I have another picture. Apparently, I just turned the camera the other way, but still pretty hazy. I don't know. It seemed a lot clearer than that, but and then these are cell phone pictures I took through the 100 millimeter with the filter. So I was kind of amazed that you could get this good of a picture with just a camera. And this one I got a trip out of because you can see the sunspot pretty slick, And see if this one was a little better. You can sort of see like a little area around the sunspot. And I don't know what that is, some magnetic deal going on. Okay. And I think I gotta go. Do I gotta go backwards? Hang on a second. Oh, that's right. I'm on the drive. Okay.
You were going backwards.
I know I was, yeah. And for some reason, I'm not able to see. We're covering this stack of people. It's covering it up. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we saw that. Yeah. Okay. So here's the sun with the corona. You can't quite see those prominences. On one of these, you can see the prominences. I was told that if I expose for the corona, I'm not going to get much prominence. And this one I processed a little bit, and this is the only one I can see the prominences, but I can see some red stuff here. So one of the interesting things is when I took the filter off of the 100 millimeter and I was looking through it, and of course there's other campers around, and I saw this prominence, but compared to this is a poor imitation of what I saw. I saw it looked like tongues of fire, very, very detailed. And I looked at it and I go, oh my God. And my wife is saying, will you shut up? The other campers are going to think you're having another heart attack or something. So that's what, but anyways, that's basically, that's what I've got. You guys got any questions? Glad to answer them. But, I used the solar timer. Thanks, Joe. That worked out pretty good.
About where in Arkansas is
kind of like southwest of Hot Springs or something. I think if you draw a line straight up from Texarkana and then west over from, I don't know, maybe that's Hot Springs. I don't know, some other major city, but it was, that's where it was, so.
southwest?
Yeah. So.
Jim, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Those ones at totality, you said you took the filter off.
Yeah.
Okay. I screwed up. I got shots all the way to totality. And then I thought I could just expand the exposure time.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't realize I had to turn the exposure up like 5 to 10 seconds. And I didn't have a driven mount, so it just smeared.
Oh,
The
okay.
images got smeared. And
Yeah.
I thought, like, why didn't I pull the filter off? But I was kind of afraid of pulling it off and then have the sun kick in all of a sudden, you know, and shoot a laser through me. But
Well, Peter, you're not the only one that didn't take off Eclipse glasses at totality. I heard someone talking about a survey that was done, and they found that only like 98% of the people thought that the Eclipse at totality was like totally awesome. And the person that was talking about the survey was totally puzzled by that. And then he looked into it further, and he found out that there were a large number of respondents that said they didn't take their Eclipse glasses off during totality, and so they completely missed it. And one of the people in the group I was in had to be told to take their Eclipse glasses off as well. They didn't really know that they could do that. So
Interesting.
so you're not the only one that's run into that.
Number one question out of Flash. Number one question by far and away was, when do you take the Eclipse glasses off? Seriously. Because people were still, they knew by that point that they needed to do it, but they were still confused on when to do it.
We had friends who were just afraid to go outside during the eclipse, thinking they would damage their eyes.
That, people used to believe that. Yeah. 50 years ago. So, yeah.
Okay, why don't you come up, Ed, because I got his
Yeah. So Jim, you're good enough to bring it up.
okay.
There's only like 5 photos, so.
Yeah. Here, you put that on.
I gotta use this. Okay. Okay, so I went down on the farm. I went to my cousin's farm, which is about 100 miles east, direct of the observatory, whatever like that. So about 30 miles south of Sandusky, Ohio, and it was right on the center line. So, and we lucked out with the weather. So it's just kind of like got the full thing there. Did have a lot of haze, a lot of that's the last ones, I think. Yep.
Yep, you want to see that?
Oh, there we go.
Oh, we're going to share it.
It's the last this the batch. So go forward or go forward or go from back or whatever it is. Oh, that's it. One back. Okay.
You can do this.
Alrighty. Okay. This is the first one. And yeah, I had a bunch of these. Like a lot of people had a lot of haze and everything. So I got like 30 photos of this. So it kind of kept from getting the extra sharpness I wanted, but you can still see that it's got, this won't show up on that. Oh, it would. Okay. Oh, yeah, I could use the,
Scroll the mouse.
yeah. Oh, and look here.
Scroll the mouse real forward.
Yeah. So you can see some of the detail and everything there, but so that was the sunset. So like I say, a whole bunch of photos like that. And that was a Herschel wedge hooked up to a little 80 millimeter thing, and it's a cell phone photo. So, okay. How do I go to the next one?
Right here on the right side, on the other side. Move your mouse.
Oh,
Keep going to the right.
oh, way out there.
Right-
Okay.
right behind you.
Sorry, everybody. Now it won't click something.
Doesn't go right, you gotta go the other way.
Oh, it's on the left side. Okay. Okay. So everybody said, look at the ground or whatever like that. I was right on the center line. So there's at least a half dozen airplanes flying over. And I don't know if you guys noticed, look up in the sky and it's throwing this shadow line right here. Can you see that? So this airplane was flying south to north. And I mean, it was just something I'd never thought about. And I saw that and I said, you know, it extends all the way down here. So it was flying directly underneath the line there. So, okay, and there should be one more. Okay, here's the same thing here. Here's the shadow line coming here, and see the shadow line going in front of it. So I don't know if that shows up on the screen, not. So, okay. And then this was my totality. I don't know if I can expand this a little bit.
Yeah, click on the plus or roll your mouse.
Okay.
Roll your mouse wheel forward.
Oh, okay.
There. Okay.
There it is.
There you can see the red.
Grab it and move
Yeah.
it. Yeah, you gotta.
There it is. Okay. So that was, and for you people out there, you get to go to another one. This was not really sophisticated equipment. This was a Canon Rebel 35 SLR with a consumer lens, 70 to 255, I think, and this set about 90 millimeters with a cell phone. So that's taken with a cell phone. And like people pointed out, I mean, this was incredible. It was the first thing I saw when we got totality. I was looking at that and I said, oh my, look at that, you know, and also then saw this one out here. So I think the haze knocked down the corona from what it might extend. I haven't seen anybody else's photos that has a lot of thing there too. But anyway, I was pretty happy with that. So anyways, that's my keeper anyways, because it was definitely a prominence and it was well defined and it was that color. It was that red. So, okay.
Right.
Take on.
Looks just like what I saw.
Yep. Pretty good.
When totality began, I could see three prominences like that. And then after a bit, only just the biggest one for some reason.
Yeah, I was a little,
Gotta unshare.
I was a little, oh, sorry. I was a little slow getting started there. So I missed the first diamond ring and all the other stuff. I had my great niece with me. So I was trying to instruct her and set it up and make sure she's having a good time, my cousin and everything else. So it's kind of a 3-ring circus. But the important thing was we had fun and we actually got to, you know, see some stuff like that. Like say you can go online and see thousands of photos. So.
Stop sharing.
We're getting all right. As you can tell, I observed from out at the StarQuest Observatory. I didn't put total solar eclipse on my slide because I initially wasn't 100% sure it was 100% at StarQuest. Yeah, I'll show you why. This is my second total eclipse. For public use, I had my solar projector out there, which makes a nice about 3-inch diameter sun image that's focused. You can see sunspots on it. It's just a nice way to track the progression of the partial phases, and several people can stand around and observe it. And it was used some. The one weakness of a solar projector is that during that first 25 or 30 minutes of the eclipse, when it was pretty hazy, I could see the sun clearly in my telescope, but it was not so visible on the projector. But then later the skies cleared a little bit and the projector worked great. So this is one of the better images, but you can see focused sunspots on it. So it's kind of a nice public way to view the eclipse. The pictures I'm going to share, I took with my 72 millimeter Skywatcher doublet with a glass solar filter. I use eyepiece projection on these, so I get pretty good magnification. And then it's just a Canon EOS RP that I'm using. So my big question going into this, and I did use the solar timer program. One nice thing it does is it lays out for you good times for 10 partial phases on the beginning and 10 partial phase times on the end. And it'll show you those times, and then it gives you a PDF form that you can put those times in. And so I've got a nice series of partial phases, but I showed you those for the annular eclipse last time I presented. So I'm just going to stick with the totality region today. And my real dilemma going in, because Gene's advice about, okay, it's a short totality, how do you enjoy it? But how do you also photograph it? That's in the back of my mind. Came up with the perfect plan. What I did, I remembered that my camera has an interval timer. And so in the 2 minutes between my last series in the partials and when totality started, I adjusted my camera settings
be what I needed for totality. I was using 1/800th. I was really kind of in the middle between the ideal for diamond ring and for Bailey's beads. But we'll kind of go with the middle here and we'll see what we get. And so then when, so this was my timing here. So this was 2 minutes before totality was supposed to start. So I'll kind of highlight which one it is. So here we got this thin crescent. I have my 2 minutes to change all my settings. And then I start my camera and I get this nice Bailey beads picture. Bailey beads on both ends, and I've got the what I'm calling the TP down here that we've already seen on some photos tonight. The problem was I only heard one click. My camera is supposed to be going click, 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 click. And I go, I don't know. I might have said a 4-letter word, but I'm not sure. But
I didn't hear it.
okay, I may have not, but I was just okay. Yeah. So, so I spent a couple seconds looking up at the sky, see Jupiter and Venus, and kind of really got a good look at them a little later. This was taken 10 seconds before C2, and I think I've got a little blow up of it for you here. And I lightened up that one section for you. So yeah, it's roughly that is what I'm blowing up for you there. I think I could have gotten a little better focus, but that seems to be always true for me. So then I took another manual picture since my repeat system wasn't working. And this was 10 seconds into what was supposed to be totality. So this is kind of what raised in my mind for a little while. Yeah, it was definitely visual totality out at StarQuest, but was it telescopic totality? And I hope some other people's pictures will help answer that question, because this is the only picture in mid totality that I have. I wish I had my planned 35 series of pictures every second, because that would have been really fun to look through those and see what I would get with each one of those. Again, some solar prominences are showing up nicely. There's the TP again, and I'll talk about this one up here a little bit more in a little bit. Okay, so now we're past the corrected, the lunar limb corrected C3. Our correction factor was minus 20.8 seconds, which is huge. If you're on the center line, a lunar limb correction is never more than a half to a second and a half. But the correction was huge. And so here's this picture right after the corrected C3, and clearly the C3 was wrong because we already have diamond ring going. So totality is over at this point. So it looks like the corrected C3 was at least closer to being right, but this is 15 seconds after that. So I don't know exactly when totality ended, but normally this much diamond ring only takes a few seconds to get there. So this is really my picture of the eclipse. And the TP is down here in the bottom, but I caught this really remarkable solar prominence up here. You can see it here, and it's in all three of my diamond ring pictures here, but this one's the one where you can really see it. So that was really cool. I've never seen a prominence before at all. So this was just like, this was fun. Okay. And then my next two pictures both turned out to be diamond rings, and just the sun's getting brighter and brighter. And right after this one, obviously I got my solar filter back on. But part of the reason I'm showing all three of those is because diamond rings usually last 2 to 5 seconds during totality, because as the moon moves over, it's like it's there and then it's gone. But you know, because we were so much on the edge, the moon is just skimming that edge of the sun. And the diamond ring here, you look at these times, the diamond ring lasted for at least 20 seconds here between this third diamond ring picture at 11 minutes and 30 seconds and this first diamond ring picture at 11 minutes and 10 seconds. So it was a very long lasting phenomenon, but I think that's because we were right on the edge of the eclipse. So then I switched my my settings on my camera back, and there's the first partial phase going back. I have a pretty nice set of partial phases, but just didn't want to take time to share that. But I do want to advertise that sometime in the future, I might be willing to do a little review on the C-Star S50 and show you what it can do. This picture was taken just Sunday, and notice how the sunspots have amplified since the eclipse. There's about 3 times the number of sunspots here in 6 days. That's what I've got. Thank you very much. And then we got sharing stuff. Oh, no. So I talked about the list on here. I had no idea what exposure settings to use during totality, but I took advice from this special issue that Sky and Telescope put out, and that's where I came up with my settings, and they obviously were pretty good. So, and I'd recommend getting that issue just because it has those exposure settings for different things in it, just as a reference. It's still available.
Okay. I'm going to go through these pretty quick because these are just the preamble parts. So I'm going to go through the, okay, these were taken 8 minutes and so many seconds, wasn't it, Kent? Because I think I was on the same thing. Okay, then we get into, this is where I removed the filter. And just to give you maybe an arguable thing is I don't think we really saw a totality there. But we'll take a look. Now these are taken 1 second apart, and I was counting. I was taking them manually by pushing a button. Okay, and this was with a 1-inch telescope, 100 millimeter. Okay, now watch. Now we're in the Bailey beads area. Now watch that closely, that bright spot. Okay. You notice it moved down, and here it comes again.
Yeah, skimmed over and came back.
Yeah.
I suspected that.
Yeah, and so let's see if I can go back. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Here we go.
I might have a picture on that.
Yeah. Okay, and then it goes. Let's see, I was thoroughly confused, and then my times were off and everything, but I got it back, and I had and I got another diamond ring. Okay, so for the 3rd time, I got a diamond ring. This shows that top orange line was the original line that we were supposed to have. You can see right in the middle of the screen is the StarQuest Observatory. Okay, you see how close that line moved down? The double yellow orange line is where we were. And so I thought about being right on the edge. That's because what I got is what I wanted, but still I freaked out, and I know I missed a lot of shots. But here's the 3 diamond rings. Okay, so, and the prominences are all showing pretty much. The time underneath is to the millisecond, so those are very accurate times. So at 109:37 was really when we were coming close to the totality, and the mid eclipse, as close as I could get, would be the 10:03. So 10 after 3, and then 11:05 was the final one that I got. So, and that's about it. So for me, so
Phil,
yeah.
What kind of filter did you have on it?
I had neutral density filter,
Basically
1,000,000 to
white
1.
light.
million to one.
Yeah, okay, so if you were seeing prominences, you saw totality. I mean, the whole thing, you had everything but a little bead right in that one area where the diamond ring was. But Kent, you had Corona. You had Corona though too, didn't you?
Yeah, he had
So
Corona.
if you saw Corona at all, you were in totality, because the sun is like a million times brighter than the Corona.
Right.
So if you see Corona, sun's gone. So you had totality
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Okay, well, this is Dave. This is Dave's, and he's going to he's got two photographs to talk about. Can you go back to that one?
That one?
No, it was still on the thing. No, go clear down to the bottom. Scan down. And click on the second to the, take TX. That's it, okay. And this is Dave. Dave's got some, oh. Take that home.
Yeah, there you go. So, to Phil's slide there that showed the two yellow lines, about 3 days before, NASA readjusted the lines of totality by about 2,000 feet, which is close to half a mile. And they moved to east, which did not, or yeah, that didn't really help us out. Because no, Memphis West would have been a whole lot better. And I really questioned totality that day because I had seen totality in Nebraska in 2017. I knew what I was looking for. My photography worked out great in 2017. Everything I took this year was total washout, total 100% crap. So my son went to Saline, Ohio, and he sent me this. He took it with a cell phone. I said, okay, send me that. I'm using it. I didn't even know he was going. And then I made this the night before with just a piece of typing paper and a leather punch. And then I just kind of walked around showing it to little groups of people. I would do a better job next time of wading deeper into the crescent, because you have to have a magnifying glass basically to see them. But the crowds like that. They were like, oh, let me get my camera. I got to take a picture of that. So anyway, those were the only two slides I got.
In Salina, Ohio.
Yes.
Salina, whatever. Tomato.
Yeah.
Did he have clouds? Did he have a thin layer
No.
of clouds? Really, it was
No.
brilliantly clear.
Yeah.
Oh, lucky him. That was great.
And I was originally going to go to the Neil Armstrong Museum,
Yeah.
but I didn't like it.
Yeah.
So I stayed here. Yeah, but 2045. Who's next?
No?
This is about the time I usually start planning the next one.
So I would like to give a report.
I have some pictures of the sun from this morning. See what the sunspots look like this morning. Or we
That'd be
can
good.
skip that and,
Well, why don't you go ahead and get those set up and I will do my editorial. So one of the things that we keep wrestling with as we look towards the future, will it be robotic scopes or the old optical scopes that the haze affects and we can't see things as clearly with light pollution? Both the Saturday nights before and after the total eclipse and the total eclipse itself demonstrated to me, as far as the general public, they want both. And I think that we, as running our observatory, should continue to offer both. Look at how we can get funding for a robotic telescope. And as long as the skies can hold out, whether it be the Starlock or the 16 or the 12.5, keep them running because people want to be able to see directly and interact directly with the nature around them. That was part of the awe, or as some people said there at the observatory, the spiritual part of the eclipse. So being a pastor, I wanted to explore that further, but I probably didn't want to distract them too much from their spiritual experience. But anyways, so a combination of both, I think, will still be our need in the future. So are you ready to go? Okay. I want to thank everybody that came and helped out from the society. Things that happened that we're not expected. We did not have trash all over the place. Everybody seemed to be respectful of the park. People were well mannered. It was parked from the entrance all the way back around the loop that goes around the pavilion. And people had a sincere joy and a fellowship. And I thank the members that were there that were able to be part of that, because that helped in that fellowship amongst all the people experiencing the eclipse. My personal feeling is that we had totality because of the being able to visually see the corona. I was the guy on the mic telling when people take their glasses off and put them on. And so I didn't get a glance through a scope during that time. I didn't observe any Bailey beads, but there was Jupiter, there was Venus. Everything was so short, I didn't even have time to look for the comet, but we definitely had corona. The difference in the conversation, telescopic versus optical or visual totality, might be something worthwhile, and maybe we should pull together a report or maybe do a YouTube video. That way other groups can have that information for the edge. I think it was an experience that was far better than expected. I counted 15.6 seconds on a timer, which was a lot briefer than what we were anticipating. And oddly enough, it threw me back to the 1990s. All of a sudden, we're starting to take measurements again. And we haven't taken measurements for astronomy. Not fancy measurements, but at least something to be able to help maybe future calculations. I'm shutting up now.
Thank you for vamping like that. That was very nice. Yeah, so I was trying out my my new telescope with the Herschel wedge and my, excuse me?
Are you shared?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If I'm not, somebody complained, but I did hit the sharing button. So these are the sunspots I captured this morning, white light Herschel wedge, and my ASI 178 mono camera. It doesn't, the whole sun doesn't fit within the field of view of the camera. So unfortunately, I get about 75%. But you can see that the number of sunspots since totality, since the eclipse rather, is impressively large. It's really amazing. Not as amazing as some of the past solar peaks we've had, but still a very nice set of groups. This is with my Barlow to obviously make the sunspots appear bigger. These have been touched a bit to bring out the contrast and so we can just see them better. I like the complexity of this group up at the top. That's very nice. Just kind of a whirl around the sun. Yeah, so there we go. It depends on the day. It depends on the number of spots that are there. It's been all over the map in terms of the numbers of sunspots. This was it's been a particularly good week. So I think they are, yeah. Right, and to know exactly where that band is, I didn't do any arranging of the image to make sure that it was, in the proper format to be able to tell that. So anyway, so that's the sun from this morning. 92 millimeter oil-filled triplet with a Herschel wedge from Lunt.
Okay, so it's like a white light.
It is a white light, yeah.
Very cool.
Now, what was your camera rating?
Camera arrangement was just in the connected to the back of the scope, you know, either on the diagonal or without on the diagonal. I think on the diagonal, yes.
Was prime photography?
Prime photography, yes, yes, that's right. That was the question you were asking, is it prime? And the answer is yes.
Oh, so the question is what's the pros and cons?
I think it'll back me up on this. The image from the wedge is just amazingly clear. It's really, really good.
Filtering it off about 10%, 90% of the sun's light straight to the back of the wedge.
Yeah.
Well, the heat element, 10% then goes through a neutral density filter, which is usually 3.0, and then they average it. You do visually polarizer, and then you can fine tune how bright you want it.
Yeah.
And you can get it pretty hot if you don't use the circuit polarizer. 3.0, it's a little hot, but it's still safe.
I'll bet you're wrong on the number. I'll bet it's more like 1% comes up to you. I think I'll bet it is, but I could be wrong. Did you really? Okay. Yeah. So it's like a beam splitter.
Yep.
And in the olden days, before the Lunt design, it was real possible to set the grass on fire or your coat. That apparently has happened. Yeah.
Say that you used to say do not touch.
Yeah.
The back of the prison. It's hot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
With the 92 millimeter though, it's barely warm to the touch. On the 7-inch that we used, I didn't even touch that one. I didn't want to. Oh, actually, that was a glass filter on the end, so that didn't count.
So you have a Lunt also, so.
Yes.
Why would you? The Lunt?
Well, number one, the 92 millimeter is new, so it's a new toy. The wedge is new, so it's a new toy. And finally, the blue filter in my blocking filter is somehow damaged, contaminated, rusted. I don't know. It looks like someone spit on it or a mold growing on it, but it's not. So it's kind of in the shop, in my shop for repairs. I have a new blue filter. I have to take my blocking filter apart and replace it. So that's one of the main reasons that it's not in use right at the moment. But it has awesome views of prominences and filaments and all the things that briefly pointed out. So it's good to have both if you can. If you can.
Oh, well, you'll hear, right?
You bet. Absolutely. So that's it.
No.
No. If you want to see prominences, you have to have a hydrogen alpha, or maybe even a calcium line telescope. But you have to have a specific. Yeah, you do. And so Lunt uses an elation to do it. And what's the other one? The one
Daystar uses
Daystar to tune, but it's still a hydrogen alpha. But they use it's like heat tuned echelon. Yeah, however you pronounce it. Yeah. So that's actually a very popular and very, very good hydrogen alpha filter system.
Coronado still.
Yeah.
Very reliable and very steady. The other's a little more.
Yeah, but the pictures from the other type are they're really awesome. So anyway, I went Lunt. All right.
Anybody want another report?
Now he's good.
All you.
Okay. So I was not planning on photographing at all because of my back. And I was just gonna observe it with my wife, and then I got this wild hair up my butt, and I said, geez, 2 hours to go, and it just wouldn't be me if I didn't try to photograph it. So I jerry-rigged a little Thousand Oaks film onto some styrofoam and cut it out and slid it over just a 200 millimeter telephoto lens and slapped it on my DSLR and put it on my tripod, which I really don't even want to call it that because it's so wobbly and so poor. But anyway, I live between Alcyon and Bluffton. We had almost 2 minutes of totality, but the entire time it was quite windy here. I don't have anything to block the wind. I'm surrounded by cornfields and nothing's grown yet. So I had to keep my hand on the tripod at all times. Otherwise, it would have blown over because I had it extended up so high, so that I was trying to save my back and neck from crouching down. So, it was very windy, and we had a fair amount of clouds here. We along with the cirrus clouds, we had quite a few moments where we had bands of lower clouds coming in. Nonetheless, I thought I would try to grab some pictures. So this is definitely nothing of any quality, but because like I said, with a 200 millimeter lens, I can get very minimal magnification. Are you able to see the sun here?
No, not yet. You're not sharing. You've
Uh,
got to share, get us. Find your share button.
Okay. Let me see. There we go. Okay, sorry about that.
There you go. There you got it.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so for every one of these shots, my left hand was holding on to the tripod to keep it from blowing over, and then I was exposing with a remote shutter release on the DSLR. So they're not very sharp and not much magnification, but you can see here we've got just a little bit of moon starting to come into the picture. And of course, we've got the sunspots. You guys were talking about all the different sunspots and everything, and that's because of the time, the day and all that. All of those sunspots were on the other side of the sun. If we could have kept filming, hours and hours later, those sunspots would have slowly started coming into view here. Let's see, I've got everybody in the way here. How do I move? Yeah. All right, so there we just got the moon starting to get closer and closer. We're getting close here. Things are starting to get pretty dim. This is me playing with some different filtering during totality. We're not going to worry about that. So this is during totality and the corona, and this is white light, of course. The camera I'm using is modified, so it is sensitive to hydrogen alpha. So what I've got is a number of different exposures during totality. So I plan to do a high dynamic range extraction of the corona. So if I can pull it off, it might be interesting to this picture here. Hopefully, with some processing, we might be able to make it look a lot more interesting. So here I managed to, I went between imaging and then I went to I had to take a look at it visually. I just had to see it with my own eyes. So of my 2 minutes of totality, I didn't spend all of that imaging, but I just kicked myself for not preparing earlier. But due to my back, I wasn't planning on imaging at all because I really would have preferred to shoot through a telescope rather than through a small telephoto. But here we got some pretty pretty nice, and this is that bright prominence that you guys were talking about. Showed up nicely on hydrogen alpha. And of course, I overexposed during the diamond ring, so I'll have to go through some of my other pictures and see if I've got some with some shorter exposures, but I think I blew it, and I may have missed it. So probably for me, my best picture was probably this one. And like I said, I just kicked myself that I couldn't shoot through a telescope, and I would have had piggybacking the DSLR on top of the scope and having a guide and having it stable and being in the observatory, I would have had walls blocking the wind and everything. I could have taken some pretty nice pictures, but well, for last minute decision and camera thrown on top of the tripod, that's what we got here. So at least it was a beautiful experience. Also, it was very interesting during totality. Absolutely obvious absence of any wildlife sound. All the robins stopped, all the birds stopped. I could hear no wildlife around me, whereas before they were just super active and loud. So that was very interesting. And like everybody else, I'm sure noticed, it was a very odd gray sky, gray ground. Everything is it's almost like you were going blind. It was just a weird type of darkness. While this was going on, I was also collecting very low frequency radio data during the eclipse, and I went ahead and posted that to the group. So I've got some very interesting data that I need to figure out what's going on with some of the D layer and E layer absorptions going on, because some of the VLF stations show enhancements while some of them show absorption. So very interesting effects down on VLF, like 20, 30, 40 kilohertz. So that's what I've got from here.
Very nice.
In the middle of totality, everything was quiet. But for us, and we were down in Austin too, right in the middle of that, a rooster crowed. Really weird. Oh, yeah. It's neat. It's stripe shift.
I noticed, like, probably 5 to 10 minutes before the fatality, like the birds started gathering, were squawking a lot out of this observatory over by the railroad tracks out there. And then it all kind of quieted down. And then afterwards, it's like all this like morning, they're all singing happy like it's morning again. So it's like a short night. Even that short eclipse, there was definitely bird behavior change.
Thanks all the share.
We out in Zoom land can't hear you guys.
Said you couldn't hear.
Oh, I'm just saying that I think we're about shared out and coming to the end of the meeting. Anything else from your side of the world?
No, that's all I've got. It was really, really neat to see so many people got to enjoy it, and I'm really delighted to see so many people imaging it. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, great. All right. Well, I think we'll call it quits. Thanks, everybody from Zoom land, everybody here for showing up. And I think we had a great meeting.
Yes.